Om Shanti, Sister Denise. Most
Om
welcome.
Shanti. Thank you, Bill.
We are very happy to have you here with us today. We want to listen to you. And today the topic is what is the meaning, the deep meaning of being a Brahmin. And I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy very much. So all for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, what does it mean to be a Brahmin? First of all, we need to define what a Brahmin is. And there are two completely different types of Brahmin. One type of Brahmin is someone in India, a Hindu, who is born in the Brahmin caste, and so they say, I am a Brahmin. And there are certain dress that a Brahmin will wear, and there's a whole cultural aspect about how the other Hindus interact with Brahmins. Brahmin is the highest caste, so people respect the Brahmins very much. It is the class of people who become the priests, and they perform the religious rituals. They take care of the activities in the temples, the worship of the gods and goddesses. They teach the scriptures, all this. And then there's another kind of Brahmin, which we use this term for ourselves because we say that we are born through the mouth of Brahma. And in Hinduism, it is believed that a Brahmin is someone who is born twice. And I think also in Christianity, there is the idea of being born twice. We have to be reborn or born again in Christ. So this idea is very much to do with recognizing God through the teachings that he gives through his medium, Prajapita Brahma. And you can see behind me, there's a picture of Brahma Baba sitting there on the table. And above him, there is a representation of incorporeal God. And so on this basis, we say, I am a Brahmin because I have been given this birth through the mouth of Brahma by incorporeal God, who said to me, you are mine. And I say, yes, I am yours. I recognize you. I recognize what I am. And so I am no longer having the sense of identity that I had before. And so what is your normal sense of identity? Everybody has a passport, which gives your photograph and your nationality and your age and date of birth, and it has a certain validity, and that's called your identity papers. And what we learn in the practice of Raj Yoga that is taught by incorporeal God through the medium of Brahma is that our actual identity is I am a soul. So I'm a soul, and I am studying and practicing Raj Yoga because I became not just only a child of God through Brahma and therefore a Brahmin, but also a student. And the three relationships that is given to us by God as being the most important out of all relationships is I am your father, I am your teacher, and I am the true guru. And so the meaning of the true guru is I will bring you liberation, salvation. I will take you back to the world of souls, and I will prepare you for that moment, and I will teach you the philosophy of karma. I will teach you about who you are in depth. And I will teach you about all your births, your reincarnations, and I will explain to you why you are the way you are now and what you were in ancient times. And also, I will teach you how to bring yourself to a very advanced stage of spiritual development and a beautiful future of great fortune. So we look at the term Brahman in that context. And when we, people of the Western world, which is the world that is usually called the Christian world, most of the people who live in the Western world, at least in the past, have been Judeo-Christian people, but now in what we call the Western world or Western Europe, it's a very, very big cultural mix. And this sometimes puts strain on people, strain on the social systems and so on. And there are also in this context people all over the world and in all the different religious communities and the religious cultures, the different lands and continents. Many, many people are searching. And they want to know what is life, what is death, what is truth, why am I here, where did I come from, where am I going? Is there God or not? Why is the world the way it is? We've been hearing from the scientific community that everything is evolving, and we see very good evolution in terms of technology, but we don't see good evolution in terms of the social relationships with people. So all of you have been introduced to Raj Yoga through the introduction course, and you've been introduced to Brahma Baba, to Shiv Baba, to the brothers and sisters, and you have been told, okay, now you are a Brahman. And you say, okay, what is that? And so different people will tell you different things about what it is to be a Brahman. And some of it is accurate, some of it's maybe not exactly accurate. But the thing that we're talking about today is the significance of being a Brahman. And so that assumes that you are comfortable with this identity as a Brahman, even though it may be not something that is part of the culture that you grew up in. And what is a Brahman? By Sanskara, that's something interesting to think about. And I'm focusing a lot on what it means to be a Brahman, because then we can look at ourselves and see, you know, am I a Brahman according to these different criteria? So first of all, is a matter of recognizing yourself and recognizing God through the medium of Prajapita Brahma. This is the first aspect that makes you a Brahman. If you recognize and you say, yes, I am a child of God, and I also recognize that Brahma Baba, Prajapita Brahma, has been placed by God as my alokik father. So he talks to us about three fathers. You have your biological father, your worldly father, Lokik father, then the father of the soul, which is incorporeal God, who we call Shiv Baba. And then there is Brahma Baba, who is your extraordinary father, or we say alokik father. That means he is the patriarch of the community of people who call themselves Prajapita Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, the sons and daughters of Brahman. So our relationship with God is as a soul, so a point of light to the Supreme Being, point of light. And then when we are in the body, we are either male or female. And so in the body, in the community of BKs, Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, we are brothers and sisters. So our relationship with each other is fraternal. In the normal world, the worldly world, our relationship is with various different people. We have our parents, our children, our uncles and aunts, and all the different relatives. We have roles with different other people in the professional arena and the community. So we have all sorts of different relationships, and we perform our roles in that context. Now, we are studying Raj Yoga, and Raj Yoga is also called the knowledge of the Gita. And in the Gita, it speaks about that your identity is you are a soul, and souls are immortal and indestructible, and they reincarnate. And the human predicament that we are all in at the moment is that everyone on earth is spiritually depleted. And some people don't care about that. Some people are trying to figure out how to deal with it. And we who recognize Shiv Baba through Brahma Baba, we say, okay, I know what to do. I need to study the knowledge which Shiv Baba gives through Brahma Baba, which we call the Murlis. So I have to study the Murlis and figure out what that is, what that means, what that implies for me. So this is why we have to churn. So Brother Bill was talking to me about a churner, and that's true. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what is this really all about in its depth. So we have to study this, and it's very easy to tell another person what the knowledge is. That's easy. What's not easy is to live the knowledge, to be soul conscious, second by second, to keep your third eye open, to be in higher consciousness, to be soul conscious, and to be in remembrance of God while talking, while walking, while eating, while interacting with different people. Stay in that stage of consciousness and draw power from God into yourself as much as you possibly can, because this will change us. It will change us from empty to full, but we need a great deal of input. So we need to do a lot of meditation, and we need to understand how to meditate, what meditation is really. Am I doing it right? Do I know what meditation is? What are the different stages of meditation? All this we study. And the foundation of our study is the Murlis. So we receive a Murli every day and we study it. We can listen to somebody reading it. We can read it ourselves. Nowadays, all the Murlis are fully accessible. So it's really a very good opportunity for us to study. And they're translated into so many languages. The original Murli is in about 6 different languages, all mixed up. And you might not know this, but it's mostly Hindi, Sindhi, English, And the English in the Murlis is English how it was spoken about 100 years ago in India, which is quite different from English as it is spoken in England nowadays, which is again different from English in America, which is again different from English in India nowadays. There's lots and lots of different kinds of English. But the Murli also has Urdu in it and Farsi. And there are a lot of scriptural references in the Murli. There are quotations from the Gita. There are quotations from the Guru Granth Sahib, which is in another language, which is called Gurumukhi. And why it is like this is because the cultural context of Brahma Baba, when Shiv Baba said, okay, I'm going to use you as my instrument. So his cultural context was, they were in Sindh, he was in Sindh, which is now in Pakistan, but in those days part of India. So they had their own culture and their own language, and Hindu religion is different all over India. It shifts and changes depending on where you are. And Brahma Baba was, from a worldly point of view, he was a Brahmin and belonging to quite a prominent family. And he was a self-made businessman, a very religious man. And so he would study the Gita or read the Gita every day. And his community, their temples, their religion is a combination of the Guru Granth Sahib, which is the Sikh scripture, and the Gita. And so this is the background that he comes from. And many of the people that he was speaking to in the early time were also having the same background. And they moved to India in the 1950s, and more different people from different parts of India started to come on board. And then in the 70s, then there were people from the Western world. And so, as Brother Bill said, I was the first one who came in London. And of course, I don't know Hindi. And so I needed everything to be translated. And eventually I had to learn the language because it's so complex to have everything translated to you all the time. And so you need to really go into the depth of the knowledge to understand what it is. And each of us will do that in our own way, because everyone is different, everyone thinks differently, everyone has different religious feeling or spiritual feeling. And for myself, I'm actually a pretty much a non-religious person. So I am not somebody whose emotions get triggered by religious references. I'm more of a philosophical type of person. And so I was much more interested in, what does this mean? Where does it come from? What is the background? What is the context? And I took it upon myself to study the Gita in its original form, as far as I could get a hold of it, and the other scriptures of India. And I spent time with different sisters and brothers questioning them so that I could understand not only the knowledge, but also the background to the knowledge, because without that, it was not enough for me. I really needed to know all those things to decide how am I going to proceed with this? And I think everyone needs to do this. So when you say the significance of being a Brahmin, I would say, yes, okay, that's good. But what I think is more important is to look at a number of other dimensions of our identity. And first of all, what does it mean when you say to yourself, okay, I'm a soul, I'm a point of light, I'm a being of light, and then put that in the context of the BK world and see, you know, how do I fit? How does this work for me? There are many practices that we do, and we're introduced to them. So vegetarian, yes, I like to be vegetarian. And not just vegetarian, but we prepare food in meditation, in yoga, in remembrance. We are lacto-vegetarians. Now, there's a lot of people who are now vegans, so they don't have anything to do with any animal or honey or lots of things like that. But actually, a Brahman doesn't have to be a vegan. Can be a vegan if you want to, but a Brahman is understood to be a lacto-vegetarian. Because traditionally in India, milk is a very important part of diet, and Brahmins, the traditional Brahmins, are usually given cows in donation in exchange for any ritual that they perform or a marriage ceremony or something like this. So Brahmins tend to have cows, and then they drink the milk, or they make yogurt or paneer or whatever. And for us, Brahmins, we practice all different kinds of purity, because the meaning of being a Brahmin is to practice purity. So pure food, pure relationships. So mostly all of us are celibate, and then fraternal. Our relationship with each other is we are brothers and sisters, which means we are equal. And what does a Brahmin owe to another Brahmin? Love and regard. And you owe this to other Brahmins, and other Brahmins owe this to you. This is the karmic meaning of fraternity in terms of the laws of karma. And so this is our relationship. And then our relationship with God. God is the father, the mother, the friend, the guide. And he says, have all relationships with him, and your relationships with other people are fraternal, your brothers and your sisters. And you do not owe more, you do not owe less to each other. And then we have the Brahman world, where there are different positions, different responsibilities, and so on. So that is our service context. So a Brahman is there to serve God, to serve the community. So God says, what do I need from you? I have everything. What I need from you is your purity and your remembrance. So being in connection with God and living a pure life means that you can be a really good conduit. So you receive light and power from God, and you radiate that into the community. That is what God wants from us, and also for us to perform pure karma. And so we have all kinds of different practices that help us to do that in a better and better way. And then we need to serve the community through our thoughts, our feelings, words, to explain to them what the spiritual knowledge is, so that if they want to take it up, they can. And so we also function as Brahmins, as teachers, spiritual teachers. So this is also part of our work. And we are yogis. So a yogi is someone who engages in yoga, and our yoga is with God. So yoga means your connection, your focus of attention. Our relationship with each other is brother and sister. So we do not get caught up in intense relationships with each other, which would distract us away from our effort to build a complete relationship with incorporeal God. And so we also are doing this in the context of karmic accounts getting settled. So everyone has karma, karmic accounts, karmic debts, and they come up. And so we have to deal with it. None of us is perfect. We all have character defects, some greater, some smaller, whatever it is. But part of our study and part of our work is to work through our character defects and develop spiritual powers and virtues, because then we can be much better representatives of God. And so basically, this is what it means to be a Brahmin. And I think for some people, this word being a Brahmin is, or can be, a bit heavy. And so I don't think we necessarily have to use that word. I like to think of myself as I'm a soul, and I'm a student of Raj Yoga, a practitioner of Raj Yoga, and I live the life of a Brahma Kumari. Brahma Kumari is the female, Brahma Kumar is the male, and my connection with Brahma is very strong. And I am a Brahmin, but I keep that on the inside of myself, because it's to do with what I am, how I live, my values, my culture, my way of being. And that's very individual, that's very personal. If you use the word Brahman for everyone with all of their differences, sometimes it becomes unclear what is really a Brahman. So I think it's very practical to think, okay, I'm a soul, and I live a pure life, and I recognize Shiv Baba through Brahma Baba. I have a deep connection with Brahma Baba, and my relationship with the other BKs is very deep, very pure. This is the spiritual family, and so we are Brahmins in this very new and different way from what normally the world thinks of as Brahmins, as a caste of India. So let me stop there, and let's just have a moment to reflect on this. Just go for a moment to silence and feel yourself as a soul, and feel yourself as a pure Brahmin who lives a pure life and who wants to be subtle, deep, understand the knowledge, connect with God, understand who Brahma Baba is, and honor him, honor yourself, and make this the focus of your life. So, Bill, I think that you told me there might be some questions about all this, so we can look at that.
Thank you, Denise. Yes, we are going to open up to the family. Maybe I can ask you, or you want to clarify a little bit, because nowadays what may happen is that there are such a variety of members of the family, of the spiritual family. But I think you have been very clear about the basic aspects that come form a Brahmin, no?
Mm.
Because nowadays, many times you don't know very much. Those who are listening to Murli and following through Zoom and all of that, it's a different time now. But I think, can you add anything about this? To today, there is this variety of students and practitioners. Maybe purity will be the central point of recognition of Shit Baba through Brahma Baba, and purity maybe.
Well, I think now we need to say to ourselves, okay, first thing is, what am I? And we're in a context of the Brahmin family, and there's every possible type of person, which is like a miniature version of the whole world, and there's all kinds of people in the world. And what we need to do is we have to really find ourselves. Here am I, and I'm in this context of the world of Brahmins and the world of the whole world. And it's not really up to me to judge the other person, whether they're practicing purity or not, or something like this. You know, we used to be very focused on this, but now I think things are different. And the focus of attention for every one of us, partly because we've been thrown onto our own self-isolation or self-isolation from COVID. So it's between me and God. And then I have my brothers and sisters, and I need to feel the vibration of each one. And there are some of my brothers and sisters that you feel a natural connection, an easy connection. So you create greater relationship. We're all classmates in the big spiritual university, and you just really cannot say, we cannot judge each other. We can discern each other's vibrations. We can see if somebody is real or fake to some extent. What dress a person has doesn't prove or disprove how much they sit in public view in meditation, doesn't prove or disprove that they have good yoga. The good yoga is indicated by their vibration. So I think what Baba is asking us to do now is to become really subtle and to really give importance to being able to pick up these pure vibrations, because we need to make our yoga better, more subtle, more intense. And so sometimes I think it's probably better to think of ourselves as yogis. I remember Daddy Janki one day saying, "Oh, I'm not a BK, I'm a Raj Yogi." And that kind of is a good way to simplify things, because it's between me and God. And what she used to say is, who am I? Who am I? What am I? What is my behavior? Now, who am I? Who do I belong to? I belong to God. So is that clear from who I am? Is that clear from my way of being and how I interact with people? Can people feel that I am a person of God? That would be nice if they can. And what do I have to do? I have to really think, what's the purpose of my life? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? It has to be meaningful to me, because in the end, we're all on our own. And as a gathering together, we give each other support, and we are, part of something. We all like to be soul conscious. We all like to remember God. We all like the Murlis. We have so much in common, even though there are so many differences. So we have that family feeling, and it's important for people to feel part of. But we also have to have balance. We have to have alone time. We have to have that solitude that is part of being a yogi, a mystic Raj yogi. And at the same time, we are gathering a bouquet, a rosary of people who have learned or are learning how to be in harmony with each other. And this is in the context of a world where people are in opposition to each other. There's so much antagonism, and we kind of reveal God by how we are with each other. So if that's being a Brahmin, then that's good, you know.
Thanks. There is a question here from Elizabeth.
Hmm.
BK life is a life of family. It's a family life. How do you understand life in family? Many live alone.
Actually, BK life is not family life. BK life is you are a soul alone with God in the context of lots of people. So you may be in your Lokik family, so they may be some Brahmins, some not Brahmins, or none of them Brahmins, but you have to function in that context. And you may be living in a center, so you have to function in that context. But you see, Baba has used 3 words for this thing that you call family. One is parivar, which means extended family. That means there's a lot of people. They have all different sanskaras, and you have to share your place of living and your resources, and they eat together and do service together and all of this. But it doesn't mean that you're emotionally involved with each other. That's not what this is about. It is also called kul, Brahman kul, and kul is a clan. So a clan is quite a lot of people, and you have certain things that you understand that all the others do also. So you're all vegetarian, you're all pretty much celibate. You're well, when we get together in Madhuban and for retreats and so on, we're all wearing white, and so all these kinds of similarities are there that makes you part of a larger group with identifying characteristics. And it's also called sampradaya. And sampradaya means community. So you have a special connection with the Brahman world. But when many people use the word family, they assume that it means that you're emotionally tied up with each other, because in Lokik family, that's what it is. And but in Brahman life, you are living with all kinds of people, or you may be living alone. It doesn't really make that much difference. The main thing is that you have a connection with people who, like you, are studying Raj Yoga, who, like you, have recognized Brahma Baba, who, like you, see each other as brothers and sisters, who, like you, are wanting to develop yourself spiritually. So I think it's actually more realistic to think of ourselves as classmates. We are students at the same university, but it doesn't mean, you see, being emotionally dependent on each other. A yogi is a solitary person, and the sannyasis go and be physically in solitude, whereas for us, we are alone in the midst of people, and we know very well how to interact. But Baba has always said, do not get yourself into emotional bondages with each other, because then you're not going to be able to make all relationships with one God, because the practice of Raj Yoga is in the context of the time when civilization as we know it is collapsing. Now, when I started this nearly 50 years ago, it was obvious to me that it was collapsing, but it wasn't obvious to most people around me. But now in 2021, you can see that a lot of things are collapsing, and the structures of the world today are very fragile. And so now we're heading towards a time when it all collapses, and we have to be able to let go. So we have to practice to let go of everything and everywhere and everyone, while in the context of everything and everywhere and everyone. And the key is we're settling our karmic accounts. So there will be big dramas happening between us, but we have to use our spiritual powers and virtues to get through that and neutralize everything, because eventually we're leaving. And so we have to be conscious of the importance of not getting emotionally caught up in each other, and not thinking of the word family as meaning interdependence in the way that in Lokic they think. And I know Spain is a very family place, so how do you do that? It's all about making yourself personally and internally really strong on the basis of Baba's remembrance. And then people come, people go, you're lovely to them, they may be lovely to you or horrible to you, whatever it is. You just sail through, you're neutral, and everything is okay, like that.
BK Natalia from Bolivia. The 16,000, what are the qualities of these souls? She says, are they angels in life?
An angel is after you're no longer in life. An angel means you have left your body, you are karmatit, and you are out there in the subtle regions. And there's one, and that's Brahma Baba. All the rest are reincarnated. So, yeah, that's called the advanced party. And they're really special people, but another meaning of the word angel in Hindi, farishta, Baba has said, somebody who doesn't have any relationships with anyone. So they are free, they are alone, they are non-dependent people. So that is a farishta. Who is who? It has not been clarified at all. You will find out at some point when all the results are in and the final exam has been taken. But Baba has said the 16,000 are the larger royal family. So there are people who are royal family, and there are people who are subjects in the kingdom. And it's actually quite difficult to really specify who is a royal family person and who is a subject person. And people used to say, well, the royal family is all the people who live in the centers, and the subjects are all the people who don't live in centers. And that may or may not be true, because there are people who live in centers who Baba says, well, they become servants, because you have to have servants in the palace. So it's better to be a subject than a servant in the palace. And so quite honestly, it's much too complicated to try and figure out. So I would say the expression that refers to the deities, complete with all the virtues, completely viceless, 16 celestial degrees complete, Maryada Purushottam, of the highest dharma of non-violence. Focus on being that yourself, and then let everybody else arrive at whatever destiny they have. We really don't have time or energy to try and evaluate all these people. We hardly have enough time to do our own spiritual practice, because time is moving so fast. I think don't think too much about angels. Think about being a soul. And when you spin the 5 forms, there is the angelic form, so the Avyakt stage. But yeah, you don't want to grow some wings and start flying around. That's or sitting on a cloud with your harp. That's not really what this is about.
And there is another question now from Mabel Escobar, Argentina. Sister Denise, what can you tell us about the friendship? Does this exist among BKs? Friendship.
Oh, yes. I remember Daddy Janki used to talk to us about this, and she said that her special friend in Gyan was Didi Manmohini. And that if you have your circle of good friends in Gyan, this is really good. But it's not people that you are caught up with emotionally. These are people who are sort of on the same page as you, people who have a similar take on Gyan and yoga, people that you can have private conversations with, that you trust them with your personal information, that it's not going to be spread all over the place. You know, especially with COVID, there's a lot of people who are quite isolated, and if they have people that they talk to and, you know, just connect with, it's really nice. It's not possible to have that kind of friendship with all the BKs because there's so many of them. But, you know, you have your people who you know, who you care about, who you care for and look out for. And this kind of friendship is really, really good to have in Gyan.
Can you give us practical tips on detached and loving?
Well, detached means that you're not trying to own somebody or control somebody or make them be the way that you want them to be, and that you do not live their lives for them, or you can't survive without them, this sort of thing. So we are like the lotus flower, very beautiful. We all live in the same stagnant pond, but we are independent, we are free, and we love each other, but we're not in bondage with each other. We have a relationship of karmic harmony. We've been hearing a couple of Murlis about this, Avyat Murlis about this. So this is really very good practice. And it's one of the weapons of the Shiv Shakti, the lotus flower, to be loving and detached, because our entire support, emotional support, spiritual support, comes from Baba. And if you try and use another BK as your support system, you are getting into karmic bondage, you are putting unnecessary pressure on that person, and your relationship is one that will actually put you into suffering after a while, or put them into suffering after a while. So it's loving and detached is balanced and very healthy relationship.
This question, I don't know if I understand this question. It says, if you can explain how will it finish, look at each other as sister and brother. How will it finish?
How will it finish? Well, how will it finish? There'll be a big bang and it will finish. But and then we won't be brothers and sisters anymore. We'll be little dots flying off. So it'll finish like that. But it's not finished yet, so we have a way to go. And we don't really know what is next. I think that many people are asking this question, okay, here we are now, and things have changed in a sort of unexpected way. And we don't know what is next, but whatever it is, we will do it. We will deal with it. We will be flexible. We will handle it. And, you know, there are so many BKs who actually left the body because of COVID, and people say, oh, is that how it finishes? Well, for some, yes. You know, you don't know. What Daddy Prakash Mani used to say, who has seen tomorrow? Nobody knows what is there tomorrow. So what Mama used to do, and this is the month of Mama, she would say, live every day as if it's your last day, and make sure every day is a really good day, so that when it becomes your last day, it's a good one. And then it finishes, and then it starts again.
Sometimes when you feel that you have had a connection for an instant with Baba, without manmat, without imagination, if it is not a real alokik connection, why do you feel sadness? When Baba says that the mercury of happiness rises, is this due to a cleansing or some adjustment? I think the idea is that even if you have this connection, and how is it possible to feel sadness? Must be some cleansing that is happening.
Well, Baba said in the Murli a couple of weeks ago that sometimes a wave of depression can come over you, and that might be a karmic account happening, coming for settlement. It might be because you did some mistake, and then that's the result of that mistake, a feeling of sadness. There's all sorts of reasons, but whatever it is, whatever the reason, what do you do with a feeling of sadness is you honor it, you accept it, you acknowledge it, and you move through it, because it rises, it stays for a while, and then it falls away. Everything is like that. And you keep moving forward. Do not put unrealistic expectations on yourself. The path of Raj Yoga is like going up a mountain. You go up, you go down, you go fast, you go slow, you go forwards, you go backwards, but eventually you get to the destination. Keep going, don't give up.
And maybe the last one, we have the last question, and it's also time. So to see the suffering, Sister Nessie, to see the suffering and to be merciful, compassionate, and also be in pleasure. Can you say something about this too? So you are in pleasure, but you are also seeing the suffering, you are compassionate, you are merciful. Can you share something about that?
I think that don't think too much about being in pleasure. You are in bliss, which is different from pleasure. You're in bliss because you're connected with Baba, you've done what you had to do, you're going, but you also have to see suffering. And you're not arrogant and thinking, oh, that's their karma, they deserve it. No, our service is to extend the energy of Baba's remembrance to those who are suffering. But we also have to know that there's nothing we can really do about it, but to be present for them and to give vibrations is really very, very important. And, there are times where we have to manage conflicting feelings which are happening all together at the same time within us. And so we have to manage that because there's just many, many things happening at the same time, and we have to balance it. But when you see bad things happening, you send vibrations, but you don't get caught up in it. And when you're in pleasure, you can't just disregard everyone else. So we have to contain all of these feelings. Think about Sheep Baba. He can feel all the sorrow of all the people in the world, but it doesn't take him away from his state of being in bliss. Because God dwells in a state of bliss, but very aware of what's happening to all of his children, BK or non-BK.
Baba is the perfect example.
Yeah.
And we are very thankful for your nice and deep insights. And I don't know if you want to add anything for the family, just as a way to closing, anything you want to share.
Oh, just really know that you are loved, that Baba is with you every moment, that the family cares about you. You're not alone. You're important. You're valuable. Be conscious of your speciality, and just get through all the tests which are coming, because you have Baba with you, and you have what you need in terms of Gyan and in terms of support from Baba. He is your support, and the family is there. So be easy about everything.
Lovely message to finish. I think this is very important to value yourself and to really appreciate your speciality and the specialities of others. So maybe if you have 2-3 minutes, through 2-3 extra minutes, we can have a few moments of meditation.
Absolutely.
To finish.
And thank you very much. It's been delightful to be with all of you.